I'm here with Dr. Richard Miller, and we're here today to talk a little bit about the International Association of Equine Dentistry, and also talk a little bit about some of the different laws that are being passed as far as equine dental technicians being persons who are not veterinarians that offer equine dentistry. So first I'm going to let Dr. Miller explain. Richard Miller, you could just explain first the association and how they came about, how long they've been around, and then some of the positions you've held.
Well, this is the 21st year that the organization has been, it's evolved through several different names, but typically the IAD has evolved over a 21-year period. And when I quit general veterinary practice and wanted to not specialize, but limit my practice to dentistry, I looked around and there was typically nothing available within the veterinary profession.
Right.
So I looked to see what technical organizations were involved, and not to go into old names like Worldwide or IADT or whatever, but it all evolved into one organization, the IAED, which I've been involved with for 20 years.
Well.
And I felt that my 1 month out of the year that I spend with them is well worth it for the standards that we've been able to attain. Literally 20 years ago there were no standards, and there wasn't anybody willing to even establish standards, particularly veterinarians had no way to even consider establishing standards. And there was nothing being taught in any of the vet schools. So I think that the IAD has come a long way in establishing an international standard that seems to be recognized by many countries at this time.
Good. Just briefly, in veterinary school, initially, what did the veterinary schools, as a general rule, not any individual school, but what did the schools offer in the way of dentistry when you were, at school going to become a veterinarian? What type of basic information did they give you regarding dentistry?
Well, typically nothing, but there wasn't anybody there to teach it, so it wasn't a matter of that my education was wanting because of that. I knew nothing about it, and they knew nothing about it. Typically, right. we learned how to age horses from their teeth, and there was some involvement in the curriculum there. When you reached a stage when you were in clinics, they handed you one simple house float, and that could really do nothing but just to teach you to put it in there and rub it on both sides of the mouth, and they really had no idea of how to do anything else either.
As far as in others, in comparison to advanced dentistry using the motor,
there was no.
Yeah,
that was
everything is right. It's becoming much more mainstream.
Yes,
it's getting more
it's getting very, very mainstream thing, but still, it's not taught in vet schools because they don't have. The veterinary schools state that they, and probably rightly so, that they don't have curriculum space. They'd have to add an extra year if they were going to add dentistry, chiropractic, acupuncture, right. Any kind of body work, any kind of behavioral studies. All these things either have to come past the curriculum is now, or they'd have to go another year just to add these complementary medical things, which I put dentistry into. And so it is a minor senior elective is offered at a couple of vet schools at this point, but that's it. They don't have time, nor the faculty, nor the the wherewithal to even teach it.
Now UC Davis has picked up a little bit there. They have Tony Basil, and what's he offering right now? Because he's
well, I can't speak for the entire curriculum, but I have been there and seen it. He teaches the faculty and advises on radiography and surgical techniques. I think his title is the Equine Dental Coordinator for the state of California. They had to create some kind of a position for him, but there wasn't a single veterinarian that was available that had the requirements to meet what they wanted to establish. So
now, Tony Basil is a non-veterinarian, but an equine dental technician.
Yeah, he's
certified.
Certified with the IAD and is a dental technician.
Right.
But he sets a very, very high standard, and
yes, I've met
has
him.
a great deal of influence at the school, and they're wise enough to know that they needed something and it couldn't be provided within anyone available within the profession. So
Well, it's forward thinking, actually.
schools have not always been afraid to hire a non-DVM to fill a position, but it's still sort of a rare.
Yeah, not as common as it could be.
So it's that's somewhat the history of the situation. I think that where we are now with, I think where we are, this isn't, most of what we're saying now is my opinion.
Right.
But it's a fact that as we speak, there are not enough veterinarians to fill any modality, any area. Small animal are probably favored because the hours are better and it's a much more civilized way of life.
Yeah.
If you when veterinarians in the heart of the horse business in Lexington, Kentucky are basically wining and dining senior students, trying to get them interested in equine medicine to come to the best possible area.
Right.
And so it's a really problem in
the
outlying areas,
and
it's the same way in bovine medicine, porcine, poultry, biosecurity. Even small animal has its problems, and certain areas they need veterinarians badly.
Right.
And my feeling all along has been, since veterinarians are so busy and there are so few of them, particularly in the equine field.
Well, you take California, for example. My understanding is there's 750,000 horses in California. I think it's the second largest horse population in the U.S.
Yes.
And I think Texas has a little over 1 million horses. So with that amount of horses, and the fact that most veterinarians don't specialize in dentistry, I think the equine dental technician is a great relationship. I myself work with veterinarians, and they call me in when they have problematic scenarios, and we do like a day where we go out, and it'll be geriatric day where we go and see line up a bunch of older horses with major problems, and the vets, the ones that I do work with, they love it. It's something that they don't offer. They don't have the equipment, or nor have they taken the time to do the additional training. So it's a great relationship, but those relationships are extremely hard to cultivate.
New technicians starting out have definitely had problems gaining the cooperation of some veterinarians who feel like that dentistry is not important.
Some do think that, yes, and quite a few.
And I don't think there's any excuse for that anymore, because it's so obvious that it is important.
Of course, yeah.
And just due to the numbers of veterinarians available, we know that they cannot. You say the 750,000 horses in California. I have not done the mathematics on it, but Dale Jeffrey from Idaho definitely has. State-wise, nation-wise, world-wise. That there just aren't enough veterinarians to go. If every veterinarian did 1,000 horses a year, you'd only make a small dent in the population. So it's obvious that the horse industry is not being served and can't be served if every veterinarian did everything he could. So that is what my push has always been: get technicians certified by the IAD, which right now is the only. Certainly I have no state or federal mandate or anything, but at least it's been around long enough that the standards are well known and respected, and then get these people. I mean, it's a win-win situation.
Really,
particularly if the veterinarian would understand. I mean, some do quite well.
Yes.
They'll set up a clinic. The technician's right here. The vet's right here. He may be just sedating for that person, but he may be over here doing radiographs, talking about snotty noses, doing pre-purchase exams, x-rays, worming, anything that comes.
Vaccinations.
He has his sign-up sheet, and right here is the dental technician, which he is earning money from, as well as getting the sedation part, plus working over here. So it's not only it's a money-making thing for the veterinarian and the technician.
It is if it's done properly. It can be where the
and it serves the clients so well.
That's the end result.
The why everybody doesn't do this, but then again, why doesn't the world all live in peace?
Yeah, I think the IAED's really, I think the test is probably one of the hardest. It is the hardest one to pass, I believe.
Well, we don't make it hard to pass
on
purpose.
No,
it's just that the
standard's very high.
standard has to be high to maintain a high level of credibility.
I think also that the IAED is looking for states to appreciate their standard and hopefully recognize them as time goes along. And if the standard is high, then it makes it easier for them.
It makes it easier for them to accept it.
Right. Now, there's been some laws being changed, and I want to talk briefly about that because Texas has taken an extreme step, I think, with just basically banning non-veterinarian equine dental technicians, period.
Regardless of who they work with.
Yeah, in the presence of a vet,
that's
not even allowed,
right.
They're not allowed at all. This is a recent change that happened, and I understand there's some legal challenges involved there. Mm-hmm. And then you have Arizona, which has probably, I think, found the happy medium.
Probably the most civilized approach.
I think it's a great approach. And do you want to just expand on what Arizona's doing to your best of your knowledge?
Well, yes. Again, not to be quoted particularly, but as I understand it, and I have some friends in Arizona that find it very comfortable. If you're certified by the IAED
right.
or by the Academy in Idaho, then if you apply to the state, then you actually get a license.
So you recognize
they have a very
workable
comfortable
system. Yeah, well, it makes it possible for them to be able not to take up the veterinarian's
I think
time.
as long as it is now, I think as long as the veterinarian is if he's not present, he can be reached
by phone. By cell phone.
If there's any complications at all. So I think that so far has worked quite well.
Now California has the scenario where the vet has to be present with you, which some of the veterinarians I work with, that's doable. But a lot of the veterinarians I work with, they're just too busy. So,
well, that might be interpreted slightly, again, in my opinion, everybody interprets the Practice Act differently. We have this unfortunate complexity of 50 states, which
all have
50 different
rules.
Practice Acts,
right.
and 50 different ways of interpreting them, and it makes it very difficult for people to operate from, from one area to another.
Because what I'm hoping to see is I would like for the public to be aware of what's going on. So that way, if, like what happened in Texas, if they're clamping down on the dental technicians who have been providing a great quality of service to the public, that they're aware that technicians that may have been helping their horses stay healthy from a dental standpoint, maybe a situation it may arise where they're cut off all of a sudden, and these laws, in a sense, pass without anyone knowing. And once they're passed, it's a much bigger effort to undo what's already done. At the end of the day, I think the horse owner and the horse itself are the losers, because if these people are providing quality work and now they're denied, like what had happened in Texas, which I was quite shocked to hear that. Didn't know what to think when I heard it.
Well, that's the thing. There are not enough veterinarians. If they all did, not enough equine veterinarians. If they all did dentistry every day, they still could not everybody on the planet and make them do something. But just for the people who want to have good quality help, there's not enough people to provide.
And later on in this DVD that I'm doing, I'll be addressing the frequency of dentistry, and from young horses through to as they get older, how often they should have their horses' teeth done. We're going to cover that in a different part of the DVD. So that way, because I think that's half the problem. A lot of people will call me with a horse that's 13, 14 and say it's having a problem eating and it's time to get its teeth done. And then naturally I'll ask them, well, when was the last time its teeth were done? And the answer is never. So I think making the horse owner aware when they should start and how often they should do it, what scheduling their horses should be on, that's a big hurdle.
Small animal dentistry has done considerably more than we'd ever came to. They started a program, I don't know how many years ago, but basically any dog or cat in captivity and an artificial diet, which of course we're dealing with captivity and artificial diets all the time also.
Too, right?
Anything past 4 years old is most likely a candidate for periodontal disease and needs to be seen. And they've done an extremely good job at educating their
small
clientele.
animal, dog and cat, they are much more aware.
The equine people have not.
Hopefully we'll be there in the near future. That's basically the reason for this DVD. We all come across it. You know, the client, when you tell them when they should have started and how often they should do it, many of the clients, as you I'm sure have experienced, are quite amazed at what they weren't doing right. And it's no fault of their own. They just didn't realize. I never chastise anybody for not starting up at the right moment because they just didn't realize. You just move forward and
don't make them seem like a bad parent.
No, I always go, today's a new day. From this day forward, you know.
The one thing that, since you weren't here at that time, 20 years ago, there were myself and one other person doing dentistry in the state of California.
Wow, as far as this
I mean, if there was anyone else, they certainly weren't raising their hand.
Right.
And the quality of the work being done at that time, I'm not so sure. But just the same, there were 2 of us.
Right.
Now it's probably the same population of horses, but there's 30.
Right.
And they're all busy. I'm busier now, a lot busier now than I was then.
Right.
So, as you said, I think the demand is there.
Yeah.
It still needs more education.
30 highly skilled persons with 750,000 horses is not a whole lot to go around.
I think that veterinarians need to work with technicians and vice versa, and I think this will, I hate to say that little euphemism that everybody likes to say, for the good of the horse.
Right.
Because,
but it really is. At the end of the day, it really is.
But it's a too often used phrase. On the other hand, that's what it is about.
Right, exactly.
That's what we can,
well, Richard, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I hope it was enlightening for the people listening to this DVD and give you a little bit to think about. And hopefully at the end of the day, your horse will be the one that benefits.
You're quite welcome, Brian.
Thank you so much.